Reading again today from my little book here, King James Bible. Revelation 17:18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigns over the kings of the earth. And again, back in 17 verse 9, here's wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So classical, historical depictions of the woman riding on 7 hills. Ever since the Protestant Reformation, the woman, the harlot, the unfaithful would-be bride of Christ, as opposed to the chaste, virgin, pure bride of Christ who, in another verse it says she made herself ready for the second coming. No, this one sits a queen and will see no sorrow, it says. Verse 18:2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, talking about the angel that came down with great power, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth, or you can supplement the word corporations, multinational, transnational corporations, are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Interesting. And I always like that particular verse. Revelations 18:3, and also Revelations 18:15, the merchants of these things, after it goes through this long list of all the things that she peddles, the merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, yada, yada, yada. Even at the very end, chariots and slaves and souls of men. Interesting. And 15, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet. Those are key colors to identify that false religious system. Purple and scarlet, red, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And you could just, there's recently in the news that a little tabernacle that was stolen, a solid golden tabernacle that was stolen, worth something like $2 million. And I just tweeted out that verse, lay not your treasure on earth where a thief can steal it. I might want to read those verses now and then, that religious institution. But yeah, it says within 1 hour, great riches has come to naught, to nothing. Every shipmaster and every company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by the sea, stood afar off. Saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And 18:23, at the very end it says, For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And so I always think that's fascinating, because in the period of time, a couple thousand years ago when this book was written, the idea of a merchant or corporate class being the great men of the earth, like literally we have today, where we have these multinational monopolistic corporations that their GDP, gross domestic product, is higher than most nations. Well, not most maybe, but some of the smaller nations, take in less money than some of these massive corporations, and we see how much influence the corporations have in lobbying our different, supposed representatives in office, political offices. So I think it's fascinating that this kind of corporate fascistic model has been called, which also ties into the technocracy, technology combined with statecraft. How the Bible kind of predicted way back then, back when, the only rulers were, of royal lineage, bloodlines, kings, royalty. Back then it predicted that the great men of the earth were the merchants, but the key is that connection that they have to the false religious system of papal Rome, as the Protestant reformers identified that harlot false church system, who sits on the seven hills of Rome, of course, right? And so nowadays, we have the latest boogeyman front group, as I call it, the globalist front group of the World Economic Forum, Davos. Just as the previous front groups in the past, the Club of Rome, the Bilderberg, not too many people talk about today, the Council of Foreign Relations, all these different little think tanks and front groups are just that. They're not the actual, even at a World Economic Forum. Okay, you have a bunch of world leaders, but those aren't the people really running the show, right? The little puppets in office, the Trudeaus, the Bidens, they're not running the show. They're taking orders, right, from the people who aren't, from the individuals who are, as a Bible-believing Christian, demonically inspired by the dragon, right, the fallen one, to enact this world government, the ones that rule from behind the curtain, right, from above the little puppet stage, the little puppeteers that control these little puppets, that you have a choice, thankfully, as a democracy, we have a choice to vote on these lesser of two evil puppet, sock puppet A or sock puppet B, the left or right hand of the shadow powers that actually control the governments of this world. Because they learned during, populist uprisings like the French Revolution to rule by secrecy, from behind the curtain. Otherwise they'll, have their heads cut off, right, as the royalty did, Marie Antoinette and all that. Let them eat cake. And, make no mistake, some of these front group heads might actually face similar fates as the guillotines. I believe there just might be some more blood running in the streets. It describes scenes and revelations of blood up to the saddles of the horsemen, right? But in any case, once you understand the prophetic symbols in Bible prophecy, you don't get so easily distracted with all these little front groups that pop up on the scene. Like I've been saying recently, everybody's putting out these memes about Klaus Schwab, the token Bond villain, who made the comment that they're penetrating the cabinets, right? Well, my argument is, for hundreds of years, ever since the Reformation and the consequent Counter-Reformation, which the Jesuits were, the vital, like the army, basically, of the Vatican, that their sole purpose was to infiltrate every group they could, to influence that group, to eventually fall back into the ideal of that papal system, papal supremacy, right? A new world order. It's the oldest institution on earth, globalist institution on earth, mind you, since 313 AD, that's been pushing for a one world order. Of course, with the religious head, the high priest, the Pontifex Maximus, being the Pope, right, as the central moral authority. That's key. So you never hear much talk about the the big white elephant in the room when we're talking about this new world order and these globalists. But you know what? Like I said, for hundreds of years, the Jesuits, the papal army of the Jesuits, have been infiltrating and penetrating cabinets across the world, in different organizations, including in government, in seats of power. And I think that's one reason why we have so many recent political leaders and different world leaders on the, the world stage who have been Jesuit educated. And if you do that quick little search on Wiki and look up the how many Jesuit colleges there are in the world, look at the vast majority of Catholic Jesuit colleges. And the vast majority is right here in America. And I think there's a good reason behind that, right? There is a war on for the heart and the minds of this once Protestant nation of America. This once Protestant nation that for the first time since 2010 has no sitting Protestant on the Supreme Court, but rather a Supreme Court governed by a majority of Catholics, a majority Catholic vote. Completely disproportionate to the population of this country, by the way. There are far more, at least professed Protestants in this country. I think it's over 50% compared to the, I think it's around maybe 20% tops Catholic in this nation. Just think about that, you know. Just think about that for a moment. Anyway, I got to get going. Again, it's just a little nibble of a Bible prophecy. I hope to do a show on this soon if I can get the time, you know, aside from all my little side projects. Yeah, I hope to do a show on this. I might call it something like, "Come Out of Her, My People." And the whole idea is that the last warning message of the first, second, and third angels, last warning for God's people to come out of Babylon. And, you know, when it says come out of her, you know, the first question I'll start out with in this new series I hope to start is, you know, how are you supposed to come out of her if you don't know who she is? And God doesn't want to, you know, keep us in the dark about such important issues like the identity of Mystery Babylon, mother of harlots. Okay? In any case, hope that made sense as quickly as I tried to sum everything up today. But I got to get rolling. I got to go get water again. Once again, out of water. Even though it's raining right now, and it's pretty chilly. But we got crops in the ground. That's one of the latest I'm releasing. I think it's on Tuesday. Doomsday Garden from last year, actually, although I'm currently recording our efforts this year as well, and I hope to turn that into a quick little series, Doomsday Garden, on trying to be more and more self-sufficient. Like I tell everybody, stay in prayer, get right with God, love each other, you know, reevaluate what's valuable in life and what you should put your time and energies into, and a big part of that is, you know, try as much as you can to get detached from this beast system, which will be used shortly as a noose around all of our necks. And ultimately, it'll come down to, you know, how faithful do we want to remain to God? How faithful do we want to remain to the truth? And how much are we willing to give up of this world? And that will be the characteristic of the true bride of Christ, who's ready when he comes again. Thanks everybody for watching. I just appreciate everybody out there and all your comments. God bless. This is Nightwatch N8 signing out.